Dune is often regarded as a cinematic masterpiece due to its advanced editing and otherworldly visuals. Although being a very popular work from Denis Villeneuve, it is crucial to understand why we are going to be comprehending the fundamental truths behind the motion picture. This includes the true meaning behind the film elements that Denis incorporates and their relation it holds with the foreshadowing fate that the protagonist is faced with. How are these film elements that do not directly have to do with the plot lead viewers to be able to understand it better? Paul Atreides is an example of a character who is affected by the film elements while his fate guides the course of the storyline. Contemplating the different film elements and how they interact with the narrative thread can improve recognition of the plot and uphold cognizance of the future. One cinematic inclusion that can communicate the effect it has on fate is the major film element that Denis incorporates within his film: editing. The editing prowess within Dune is incredible, as all the particular edits that are made are purposeful and build characterization for Paul and other characters. A peculiar scene where we see this film element in action is when Paul faces the Gom Jabbar test. This scene is especially important because it signifies the potential that Paul holds, and this is also the scene where he first finds out his true abilities and how he should live his life. In the beginning, it is a slow scene where Paul simply enters the room. However, once he puts his hand inside the Gom Jabbar, he experiences intense bouts of pain, and only through this experience will he realize his true role as the Kwisatz Haderach. This scene is paced very fastly, cutting in between Paul and his mother Jessica, while she is exclaiming proclamations that furthermore hint at Paul's history. A scene of make-believe hell is also shown to incorporate the true meaning of fire, which is purification, warning, and also power, denoting that in the near future, Paul would be fated to experience similar things as to what he sees in his visions, and also to be warned of all the dangers that he holds ahead of him. Another key film element that played a part in representing the relationship between Paul Atreides and his fate was sound. The directors had been very specific with their choice of sound, and this movie incorporates many unique differences within the audio spectrum. One key scene that clearly showed the meaning that sound had brought to the movie was when Paul used the voice to command the Harkonnen to save both his and his mom's lives.
Shut up. Inside that way.
Being able to use the voice in itself solidifies his potential to fit into the role of the One, something that he had once overheard Jessica talking about with the Bene Gesserits. This amplified show of sound alludes to the role that Paul has to fulfill, being the Kwisatz Haderach, which is a male Bene Gesserit who can use the voice. Although throughout the story there had already been many clues to Paul being the individual whose inherited powers that can bring about the bridge between space and time, the actual usage has enlightened viewers that it was indeed true. This means that Paul's fate was asserted through the usage of sound, which had then connected to his backstory and furthermore his destiny. Lastly, a very important film element is the specific shot composition that is chosen in the scene where Paul is in the desert and he experiences one of his first extremely detailed visions. Within the scene, the shot composition is incredibly evident because it does many far-to-close cuts, leading readers to focus on many different components. It pans out wide at a view of the desert, which shows nothing but the disaster that had left Arrakis in ruins. Paul and his mother, Jessica, are isolated, and this can hint at the struggles he would face in the future if he could not garner allies. In a much later scene, although in the same environment in a close cut, Paul is seen inspecting the spice dust, and that also shows the effect it has on him, possibly implanting the fact of how important spice is to the plot. Paul has this dream that is said to foretell the future. In the events that he foresees, Paul perceives a future where there is a wide shot panning down to an army of soldiers battling. He soon realizes that this is a battle that he is bound to fight in his name. These shots helped establish a feeling for the amount of suspense that the director had built and also accumulated an analysis as to an outside view of the events happening, hence the third person within the dreams. Using the close cut, confirmed that Spice had an effect on Paul and made the viewers focus on it, possibly foreshadowing. The wide shot gives a different perspective as it portrays Paul's fate as bigger and more important, capturing all of the different key elements that would be in his life. Overall, through all of these scenes that exemplify film elements, it is clear to viewers that the main reason Dennis had specifically included some specific factors was to send out a message and about how readers could predict what would happen in the future to Paul, which also assembles unease that bids the viewers to continue watching. This is shown through many of the established scenes through the cinematography. It is believed that without these underlying factors, Dune would not be the same movie with the same amount of foreshadowing as it originally holds.